everybody. Good afternoon and happy day to you. We are Meet Me in the Middle with Lindsay Pollard and Joy. There we go. So we are really excited today. This is our 25th episode. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness. Yes, that's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's like going really quick. And we've had some really great guests on. So today we're like super excited. If we seem extra pumped today, we've got some really special guests on today as well. And so let's see, Joy, who do we have coming in?
Let me see who I'm going to bring. Oh, well, we don't want all that, do we? You got to just work with us. I'm going to bring in one at a time. All right, here's one.
Oh, there's one. And she's got to move her camera the right way because she's kind of sideways.
Oh, I need to do it again?
Yes. You don't have to go out. You can just change your camera.
There you go. This is real time, real stuff. There she is.
There she is. So this is Cidny Broughton, and this is my daughter, my oldest child, and young woman, excuse me. And we are happy to have you on, Miss Cidny.
Hi.
This is the first time no, I take that back. First we had our husbands on. We had Ronald and Roger on. So we're kind of keeping it in the family. And get ready to bring one more in. All right. This next guest is coming in. There she is. This is my oldest daughter, Carrye Burr. Hi, Carrye. There she is. Welcome to Meet Me in the Middle.
Hey.
I'm so glad to have
Thanks for having us
here. And they're both, let's see, Cidny, you are see, and Carrye, you are 33, right?
I am.
Well, you both look really good, I'm telling you.
I know you take care of your mother.
Y'all are some old people, but you look good.
Hey, right?
I was just telling Lindsay, this is episode 25 of Meet Me.
25 episodes?
Yes.
Sister. So for you all out there that don't know, Cidny down here in this one square, I don't know where you all are on, when everybody sees it. But Cidny is the one that produces our videos. Once we record them, she's the one that puts the jingle at the beginning and the end and all that good stuff. And so she's part of that team. And then Carrie's on her mission up north in Connecticut. Cidny's on her mission in Mobile, Alabama. All right, Lindsay, take it from here.
Yes. We are so happy to have both of you here. Thank you so much for joining us. And Joy and I, we talk all the time. And so we talk about our kids and, share different things. And one of the things that we realize is that you both are PKs, pastors' kids. So look at those responses.
You said it all.
That was the whole interview right there. Anyway, one of my first questions was, I'll ask you, Carrye, growing up as a PK, what was that like for you?
So it's funny because you don't know that other people have different realities for the longest time. You know what I mean? You just sort of, it's your reality. So it's like, oh, this is completely normal to do sword drills and to, go to church from 7 a.m. to.
Yes. Gosh. Yes.
We have an amen choir here.
I know, this is so fun.
Whatever time, I feel like there was a lot of great things about it. We had so many like missionaries, other people come visit us. I feel like I really had a cool experience being on the inside of church and just really understanding that foundation of God's parts that were challenging. And maybe more that I'll touch on later in the later conversations that we do. But so yeah.
Were there any pressures that you felt at any point growing up that you realized other kids weren't experiencing?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And can I just be honest? Like, you don't have to worry, both of you, Cidny and Carrye, but don't worry about even how, because we know. And the ironic thing is, Lindsay and I both are preachers' kids as well.
Mhm.
So, anyway,
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think there was definitely that moral strictness within the church or within our family. I even remember when I was in high school, I said something and my friend's like, "You can't say that. You're you're a pastor's kid." And I was like, "Well, whatever." You know, like at some point you sort of have to just grow out of that. Not grow out of it.
Yeah, you
You
do.
have to sort of expand your limits a little bit almost to understand what it actually means to know God. Really, for me, I feel like I had to have, you know, I wasn't like full on rebellious pastor's kid.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Yes, that the stereotypical.
do you feel as if
But yeah, there definitely was.
I think there's a little bit of a lag.
I know. Should
That's
we?
okay. I didn't want to cut you off. It just seemed like there's a little bit of a lag. That's okay.
Yeah. We got a
Oh, I'm
little
good. Go ahead.
lag.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off, Carrye. Did you do you feel like you got any pressure from your parents to be a certain way?
So I don't know that they were. I I don't know that you guys were overly like overbearing or strict. I think part of it was I was a naturally compliant child, so some of it I just put on myself based on like understanding these are the rules and we follow the rules, and so that's the kind of kid I was. I'm trying to think. I don't know that there was a ton of pressure that you guys. One thing I really appreciated about my parents is they never made me feel like I was in the fishbowl, and said they never said, "Listen, if you do this, it's going to look bad on us, and you better not do that because it's going to make us look bad." I feel like there was never that pressure, which was great.
Yeah. All right, Cidny, honey, fess up. Tell us. Tell us your experience. What's your?
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, mine is similar to Carrie's in the sense of you really don't know until someone kind of points it out. But even at that, my world was so separate. So church life and home life was so separate from school and then church. Church was 2 hours away, Friday through, maybe Wednesday through Saturday. And then I had school 2 hours away, Monday through Friday. So, and then the school that I was at a private school. So I had pastors' kids around me, and I had, now mind you, the economics was different. So I guess the PK difference would be more so the socioeconomical difference that I had versus the ones that my parents ministered to, a lot of the members. But as far as pressures and whatnot, in the church, a little bit more so than outside of the church. They always made sure to tell the congregation that we're their kids and they will discipline us or they'll deal with us. So I really didn't get a lot of, I really didn't get a lot from adults as growing up. Now, I may have had some interactions with, folk that are around my age at that time, but it wasn't really.
Not too bad.
It wasn't really too bad. No, I mean, and these are still people that I call now.
So now that you're not in a pastor's home, because you're in your own home now, you're married, have your own family unit and everything, is it different, or did it just kind of flow easily for you? Did you have to get rid of some baggage in order to move to a different
I can say the residual. So I burnt out being a pastor's kid.
Okay.
I was burnt out because I was born into it. And
Right.
then when I went to college, I barely went to church just because I was always in church. like for 20 something years, I stayed in church. Or we would be on time for church, but I would not be on time for school, you know? So it got to that point where when I got to college, I was just like, okay, I'm tired. And it's not, I'm tired of Christ. It's not that I'm tired. I'm just tired of all the travel, all this, and I have to go to church and I have to be there, and then I have to be there from 7, because we live 2 hours away, California. So you're battling traffic, then you're in, you know, wherever you're supposed to be. Then you might have to do house visits. Then you might have to go and do a nighttime program. Then you have to travel 2 hours at best, most home. Mm-hmm. So once I got to college,
you were worn out.
I'm going to. I slept most of the time for church. If there were worships, I was required to get those so I could go off campus. At a certain point, I actually started doing the worships, like my freshman year in college. But yeah, I mean, college, and then now it's trying to come off of college and get into my own routine with my family, and, you know, just being honest, you know. And again, that's because 20 some odd years, that's just been my life. And so now it's like I'm trying to find the balance between going to church, finding a church that I like, my family, trying to bring them, and, you know, finding the right balance between there. But a lot of it's an internal struggle, because that was your life, and it's not like you asked for it. It's just like you were there, and this is what you have to do. I think the hardest part is getting out of bed to go to church. Yeah, that's probably the hardest thing for me to do, is get up out of bed and go to church.
Yeah. Well, now you don't have to. It's all virtual.
And that has been perfect.
Quick question to finish out this segment for either one or both of you is how, being a preacher's kid, being a PK, how have you, what are some things that you went into your own parenting? Because Carrye, you're the mom of 3 kids. Cidny, you've got 1. And so you're already in parenting mode. And what things have you done differently, I guess, or that you wanted to adjust to, and not even just coming out of a preacher's family, but, you know, coming from a very strong Christian family background, you know, what did you want to do differently going into your family? If that makes sense.
No, that's a good question. I broke the mold by not marrying a pastor who, you know, like, I feel like there's this expectation almost that you're gonna
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that. I'm sorry.
You and
and even that is a whole nother story, because I feel like it's been so freeing for me to not be married to a ministry man, and I think I've actually seen God's heart for what he wants for me in ministry more, because I don't feel like I have to be a shadow.
That's a great point.
But for my kids, maybe it's just my generation, their generation, I'm trying to let them ask a lot of questions, and I had some of that growing up for sure. But I think I'm less likely to try to give like this cute Christian answer to, you know, a lot of things. They're already asking about just whether it's homosexuality, whether it's, you know, all these church issues that we grew up hearing over and over as like buzzwords. And I'm like, I want to hear what they have to say. My son the other day, we were reading in the Bible, and I was like, you know, they're kind of leaving out they're saying all the positive parts of the Bible story, but there's actually this other part that happens in the story, and it's not that great. And so my son looks at me, and he's like, it's almost like they're leaving out the bad parts and on purpose. And I'm like, it feels like that sometimes. And I want my kids to be able to see that and ask, and not to take everything, because I actually think that Christian culture has its own downsides. It has its blind spots in places where it may not be healthy. And I think so often in the Christian culture at large, I see people trying to protect their kids so much from the outside world that we forget that there's unhealthy stuff on the inside. So I think I'm trying to figure that out. Let them ask a lot of questions, and man, I'm making a lot of messes along the way. But
Cidny.
I mean, that is such a fantastic answer, and there's no, for those of us that are seasoned parents, there's no book. There's no book, on how to parent your kids. And basically if you're going from a Christian creationist point of view, then the Bible is your marker, but at the same time, God understands our humanity, and I think He wants us to ask questions,
Right.
So.
How about you, Sid?
I'm at that point right now where you guys side note, you guys seen the video where the man is on the interview and then the kid comes in and then the mom comes in and like, that's what just happened. Eli just came in and but it's difficult because I'm trying not to project my own personal like just struggles with going to church with child. And so when I say it's a big internal struggle, it's a really big internal struggle. As far as like the teaching element, I think these principles are the same as far as parents go, being from Christian household. It's the methods that are different. Especially being a millennial and whatnot. I think we're a little bit more relaxed in some ways as far as, just everything's not cookie cutter. Everything is not black and white. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of questions that we are asking that when we grew up, it was just, you don't ask the question. It was this, and then that's it. And that, and so I think even in Christianity, there's a lot of questions that are coming up because nothing is, yes, there's black and white, but there's a lot of gray area in some things as well. And I think also denominational differences as far as, being Seventh-day Adventist, there is a mindset that they instill inside of you from childhood. Is it tradition versus, and you have to deal with tradition. So, am I going to follow tradition? Is tradition, the narrow way to go? It's just a lot of questions. So I think in me trying to figure it out myself, when it comes to my son and whatnot, I'm gonna be more open for him to ask questions. He's 3. So there's some things he's not asking. Now, there are some parameters that I'm keeping in place as far as, even with the homosexuality and things and whatnot, like there's realities, there's a lot. And I feel like my child should understand that growing up. I think there's a lot of taboo topics in church, like Carrye just said. But the reality of it is you have all of these individuals that are inside of the church. So I think it's the way that you talk to them versus, again, when I don't know, Carrye, you grew up this way, but how I grew up, there's just taboo subjects. As far as my parents go, my parents were very liberal in that sense, as far as just talking to me. So I think my experience as a PK and my growing up in my the skeleton of how to raise a child and how I'm very appreciative, and I try and follow that because they did a really good job, and I'm not just saying that. But I tell anybody, like, my parents did a really good job as far as just being a California kid, and all the influences and whatnot, and them working 2 careers and
wow.
them, a certain lifestyle and just instilling in us, the morals and ethics and Christ and whatnot. So, I guess to answer the question, I don't know if I went around it, but it was kind of the same thing as what Carrye said, as far as just when it comes to my kid, just questions. And then the other thing is that I'm in the deep South. So questions are a little bit taboo around here too. So it's trying to deal with that culture as far as my culture and, I think I had a little bit easier because I am Californian, and the way that we are is a little bit different than down here. And, so.
That's great. That's a great segue to our next session.
I was getting ready to say, because we want to go into the next one talking about church, yes, millennials, and different areas of the country and how that looks, and racial issues. Let's just do all kind of fun things at the next one. All right, Lindsay, close us out of this one.
All right. So this has been really good. This has been really, really good. And, we have two young ladies that are meeting for the first time. They're our children, and, there's a lot of commonalities, and we're getting ready to delve into some of the differences and the different experiences. So on our next episode, we're going to be dealing with the church even more, but we're also going to be delving into how they feel the church has responded to, Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter and some of those other dicey issues. So we'll see you.
Come back. All right. See you next time.